Hello. While writing MCollective agents, debugging can be quite hard. They tend to run inside a daemon, backgrounded in threads, and your only real tool for debugging tended to be logging. And if the library you're using is printing to standard out, it can be quite hard to really know what's going on. So I've written a debugger that you can load agents into and call them interactively. And it's basically an IRB with a couple of features specific to the needs of debugging agents. I'm going to show you a simple example of just calling a echo agent, the echo action of it, and passing in message equals foo as a variable. We can assign the result to a variable called f. You can see it shows a normal debugging, how it finds the class, loading up the class and so forth. It then shows you a normal simple RPC style print, so you can see how your results might render. The print is subject to the DDL, so you can also debug that your formatting that you've proposed in the DDL is correct. And finally, it returns data just like you would get if you were iterating your results. And we can print RF, and you'll see it's a standard MCollective simple RPC dataset. Now, this specific agent that we have, it sometimes fails, sometimes it works. It's a bit random. This one failed, and we might want to figure out what's going on. Now, as this is a bit of a contrived case, it's a very simple agent. I can show you the code. It's simply an echo action. It calculates a random number and figures out whether it's odd or even, and then based on odd or even randomness, fails. So this is fairly simple to figure out what's going on, but it's a good demonstration of how to actually debug this. Now, the first improvement I've made is to enable a thing called tracing. So when we're going to do our call now, you will see the entire call method called trace, starting from the point where it starts loading the agent. And you can ignore most of the stuff in white. It tends to be the build up and tear down of that an MCollective would do in its agent, things like calling authorization, calling a startup hooks, and so forth. The green stuff are the areas you should pay attention to. These are affecting your code that you're running or utilities that you're loading. If we go down, we'll see we're actually starting to call the method now. We go down here, we're doing the calls to random, the mod, the comparison, and it's failed. You can see which lines you're at. It's line 16, and it's really quite nice for just figuring out what's going on. We call it again. This one's all worked. See, there's no red over here. Okay, so we can enable and disable that. That often can be quite useful already to figure out what's going on. Not so nice if you're maybe using external libraries or calling out to Puppet or something. So for that, you might need to get even deeper. We've integrated the Ruby Debugger. Ruby Debugger is a standard debugging tool. You basically can set breakpoints, evaluate, step into, step over, change variables on the fly, and all these kind of things. So in this case, we want to set a breakpoint on this if here, which is line 16. So we set a breakpoint in our agent file, line 16, and continue out of the debugger. Now we can do our call again, and once we get to that execution point, the debugger will pause. You can see the context where you are. Arrow tells you where you are, you're at line 16, and we can see that random should have some kind of a value now. In this case, it's 1, so it won't fail. But maybe we want to test that our fail actually works. Maybe you want to simulate failure to see how simple RPC, print RPC will show your results. So let's change that variable to 0. Now if we continue, we've got a fail. Call it again. Random's 1. Let's leave it like that. Continue, no fail. So you can see you can break into your execution of your program, step into, step over. Debugger is really quite nice. It has a lot of things, backtraces, breakpoints. You can see call stack, catch exceptions, all these kind of things. And yeah, hopefully using this tool will help you debug agent is a bit easier. Each time you call agent, each time you call an agent, it will get reloaded fresh from disk. So if you're editing a file, it will easily, you don't have to exit the debugger every time. There's one little problem: the actual Ruby debug isn't really noticing changes. I'll still work and see if I can improve that a little bit. But yeah, hopefully this works, and I'll gladly receive your feedback and improve this. Thank you.